China is preparing a $143 billion package for its chip firms in response to U.S. tariffs, according to sources. According to three sources, China is working on a more than 1 trillion yuan, $143 billion, support package for its semiconductor industry, in a major step toward chip self-sufficiency and to counter U.S. moves aimed at slowing its technological advances. Beijing intends to implement one of its largest fiscal incentive packages over the next 5 years, primarily through subsidies and tax credits to boost domestic semiconductor production and research, said the sources. It indicates, as expected, a more direct approach by China in shaping the future of an industry that has become a geopolitical flashpoint due to soaring chip demand and that Beijing regards as a cornerstone of its technological might. According to two sources who declined to be identified because they were not authorized to speak to the media, the plan could be implemented as soon as the first quarter of next year. The majority of the financial assistance would be used to subsidize Chinese firms' purchases of domestic semiconductor equipment, primarily semiconductor fabrication plants, or fabs, they said. Such businesses would be eligible for a 20% subsidy on purchase costs. The fiscal support plan comes after the U.S. Commerce Department issued sweeping regulations in October that could restrict access to advanced AI chips for research labs and commercial data centers, among other things. The U.S. has also lobbied some of its partners, including Japan and the Netherlands, to restrict semiconductor equipment exports to China. In August, U.S. President Joe Biden signed a landmark bill providing $52.7 billion in grants for U.S. semiconductor production and research, as well as a $24 billion tax credit for chip plants. According to the sources, Beijing intends to increase support for Chinese chip firms in building, expanding or modernizing domestic facilities for fabrication, assembly, packaging, and research and development with the incentive package. Beijing's latest plan includes preferential tax policies for the country's semiconductor industry. The State Council Information Office in China did not respond immediately to a request for comment. The beneficiaries will include both state-owned and private enterprises in the industry, particularly large semiconductor equipment firms such as Nara Technology Group, Advanced Microfabrication Equipment Incorporated China, and Kingsemi. Following the announcement of the package, some Chinese chip stocks in Hong Kong rose sharply. Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corp., SMIC, increased by more than 8%, bringing its daily gain to nearly 10%. Hua Hong Semiconductor Limited closed up 17%, while mainland markets were closed at the time the report was released. Achieving technological self-sufficiency was a major theme in President Xi Jinping's full work report to the Communist Party Congress in October. The term technology was mentioned 40 times, up from 17 times in the 2017 Congress report. Analysts believe that Xi's call for China to win the battle in core technologies could signal a shift in Beijing's approach to advancing its tech industry, with more state-led spending and intervention to counter U.S. pressures. Because of the October sanctions, major overseas-based chip manufacturing equipment companies, including Yangtze Memory Technologies Company, YMTC, and SMIC, have stopped supplying key Chinese chip makers, and makers of advanced artificial intelligence chips have stopped supplying companies and laboratories. China's Commerce Ministry announced on Monday that it has filed a trade dispute with the United States at the World Trade Organization over its chip export control measures. In the chip manufacturing equipment sector, which is still dominated by companies based in the United States, Japan, and the Netherlands, China has long lagged behind the rest of the world. A number of domestic firms have emerged in the last 2 decades, but the majority lag behind their competitors in terms of their ability to produce advanced chips. Nara's etching and thermal process equipment, for example, can only produce chips with dimensions of 28 nanometers or larger, indicating that the technology is still in its early stages. Shanghai Microelectronics Equipment Group Company Limited, SMEE, China's sole lithography company, can produce chips as small as 90 nanometers, trailing the Netherlands ASML, which can produce chips as small as 3 nanometers.